Imagine a love that transcends death, a betrayal that disrupts the cosmos, and a quest that shapes the beliefs of an empire. These aren't just elements of a gripping tale, they're the lifeblood of ancient Egyptian civilization. But why is this story etched into the walls of the greatest pharaohs? Why did this deity's following grow from a few empty shrines in Egypt to temples stretching to the far reaches of the Roman Empire? Why does it resonate so strongly with people from different times and places? And what happened to Osiris's penis? In this video, we'll answer all these questions and more. Welcome to the mysteries of mythology, the goddess Isis. Isis, or Set in Egyptian, emerged from the Heliopolitan creation myth as the daughter of the earth god, Geb, and the sky goddess Nut. Her story, however, starts not with the grand temples, but with modest beginnings. Initially, she was a deity of little mention, her name barely whispered in the oldest Egyptian records. It was in the fertile Nile Delta, a land lush and teeming with life, where Isis's worship likely began. Her name, meaning Queen of the Throne, was a direct reference to her power and status, symbolized by her iconic throne headdress. Scholars like Kurt Seisse and Henry Frankfurt have suggested that Isis personified the throne itself, with the divine authority to crown kings. But her influence didn't stop at the river's edge. As her worship spread to Greece and Rome, her name evolved to Isis, marking her transformation from a local deity to a goddess revered throughout the Mediterranean. But how did this once obscure goddess rise to such prominence? Among these divine tales is the story of Osiris, Isis, and Set, which begins in the heart of the Nile Delta. In the beginning, before the sand settled to form the land of Egypt, there were the gods. Among them were Geb, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky. When Nut became pregnant, the sun god, king of gods Ra, became angry. Ra had heard a prophecy from the god Thoth, the god of the moon, wisdom and knowledge, that a child of Nut would one day rise to become a ruler, and this child would overthrow him. Fearing the loss of his power and possibly his own downfall, Ra decreed that Nut could not give birth on any day of the year to prevent this prophecy from coming to fruition. In order to circumvent this curse, Nut sought the help of Thoth. Thoth gambled with Khonsu, the moon god, to create 5 extra days by winning a portion of Khonsu's moonlight. These 5 extra days were not part of Ra's 360-day year, and thus were beyond the reach of Ra's decree. These days became known as the epagomenal days, or the intercalary days. Nut was then able to give birth to her 4 children, Osiris, Set, Isis, and Nephthys. These deities were born in pairs, with Isis and Osiris falling in love before they were even born. As the firstborn, Osiris became the ruler of Earth, representing order and peace by bringing law, farming, religion, civilization, and education. But his younger brother, Set, embodied chaos, storms, disorder, violence, and war. Isis grew in wisdom and beauty, her eyes reflecting the depths of the Nile. But her greatest attribute was her boundless heart, capable of infinite love. It was this love that destined her to be with Osiris, her brother, the god of agriculture and the afterlife. Their union was not just a merging of hearts, but the bedrock of order and stability in the world. Yet in the shadow of this perfect union, jealousy brewed. Set, the god of chaos and storms, and brother to both Isis and Osiris, harbored a dark ambition. His heart was a barren desert, devoid of compassion, and he coveted the throne. Set, driven by envy, crafted a devious plan during a grand feast. He presented a beautiful chest, promising it to whoever fit inside. All the gods tried, but the chest was made to Osiris's exact measurements. As his brother settled perfectly inside the box, Set slammed it shut, sealed it, and cast it into the Nile. With Osiris gone, Set declared himself the ruler of the earth. Osiris, trapped in the chest, continued down the Nile to the kingdom of Byblos, where the chest became entwined within a tamarisk tree. Not knowing that Osiris was inside, the king of Byblos cut down the tree and used it as a pillar for his palace. This pillar, entwining Osiris within it, became known as the Djed, a symbol of stability, and is said to have been the inspiration for the sarcophagus. Isis's grief upon discovering her husband's fate was immeasurable. She swore to find her husband and end Set's rule. She embarked on a harrowing quest to retrieve Osiris's body, a journey that would lay the foundation for the Egyptian rites of death and burial. With her sister Nephthys, Isis took flight as a falcon, searching everywhere and questioning everyone. Finally, a group of children pointed her to the kingdom of Byblos. In a plan to infiltrate the palace to search for Osiris, Isis transformed into human form and became a maid. She subtly earned the queen's trust, and in her role as a divine protector masquerading as a nanny, she performed a nightly ritual, bathing the royal infant prince in fire, not to harm him, but to give him the strength of the gods. This was a secret ritual, but one night the king saw her and was so scared that he promised her anything to keep his child safe. Isis knew exactly what she wanted, the chest that contained Osiris. Once she had it, she took it back to the Nile, hiding it in the thick reeds along the riverbank. She needed time to think about how to bring Osiris back to life, but her plans were interrupted when Set, upon discovering Osiris's body, tore it into 14 pieces, scattering them across Egypt, making Isis's task of reviving Osiris nearly impossible. Isis, undeterred, set out once more. She traversed the land, collecting each piece of her beloved. With each find, she performed the sacred rituals of mummification, echoing the practices that would become central to Egyptian funerary rites. In her search, there was one piece she could not find, the penis of Osiris. Lost to the Nile and eaten by a fish, his member was no more. In a display of her divine power, Isis fashioned a replacement from gold, symbolizing the restoration of life force. This act of creation was not only about bringing Osiris back, but also about ensuring the continuity of life and divine essence. Through her magic, Isis resurrected Osiris, long enough to conceive their son, Horus. In the seclusion of the marshes, she bore and raised him hidden from Set's wrath. Horus would grow to challenge Set, a narrative that symbolized the eternal struggle between order and chaos. The resurrection of Osiris by Isis was more than a mere reanimation. It was a promise of eternal life, a testament that death was merely a doorway to a new beginning. Osiris, once a king among the living, now ruled in the Duat, the realm of the afterlife, as the judge of the dead. The story of Isis is not just one of love and magic, but also of protection and fierce loyalty. In the marshes of the Nile, she raised her son Horus, shielding him from the vengeance of Set. In this hidden sanctuary, Horus grew strong and wise, preparing for the day he would claim his throne. Among her lesser-known tales is the poignant story of the 7 scorpions. To escape Set's notice, Isis refrained from using her powers. To assist her, Serket, the goddess of venomous creatures, sent 7 deadly scorpions to protect Isis and her son Horus. They were her companions and guardians as she navigated a world filled with both mortal and divine dangers. One evening, as the sun's last light streaked the sky, Isis, in the guise of a mortal woman, left the marshes and sought shelter and food in a nearby village. The first house was a lavish mansion. Isis knocked on the door, But the woman who answered took one look at the beggar in ragged clothes, being followed by scorpions, and shouted at her to leave her property, slamming the door behind her. Isis walked further into the village, coming across another woman. This woman had very little, but took pity on this wandering stranger with a child. She offered a simple meal and a bed of straw. That night, as Isis and Horus slept, the scorpions, enraged by how the woman in the mansion had treated their master, hatched a plan to take revenge. In their desire for retribution, the 7 scorpions pooled their venom and gave it to one called Tephan. As the other 6 protected their master, Tephan crept out of the house and into the mansion. There he found the sleeping son of the mansion's mistress and stung him with the deadly venom. Isis woke to the sounds of wailing in the middle of the night. Outside, she saw the woman who had rebuked her earlier, holding a child in her arms, begging for someone to help. Isis realized what her scorpions had done and ran into the street, knowing that revealing herself and using her magic would put her and her son at risk of being discovered by Set. She took on her divine form, took the boy in her arms, and began to recite a powerful spell. "Oh, poison of Tephan, come out of him and fall upon the ground. Poison of Bifent, advance no further and fall upon the ground, for I am Isis, the great enchantress and speaker of spells. Fall down, O poison of Mesetet. Hasten not, poison of Mesetetef. Rise not, poison of Petet and Chetet. Approach not, poison of Matet." Every name gave the spell power, neutralizing the poison. Slowly, the child awoke. The wealthy mother wept with joy. Remorseful for what she had done earlier, she offered Isis all of her riches. The story of the 7 scorpions highlights the duality of power. It can be a force of vengeance or a hand of healing. Isis, with her boundless grace, chose to heal, showing that redemption is always within reach, even for those who doubt and fear. As Horus grew, the time came for him to challenge Set and claim his rightful place. The battles between Horus and Set were epic, a series of trials that tested their strength, wit, and resolve. The divine tribunal, a council of gods, watched over these contests. They saw Isis's cunning turn the tide when she, disguised as a beautiful maiden, tricked Set into vulnerability. Yet, when Isis had the chance to strike a decisive blow, her heart faltered, bound by familial love. This moment of mercy brought its own trials. Horus, in his anger, saw it as a betrayal. The bond between mother and son was tested, but ultimately proved unbreakable. Isis's love was a river that no dam of anger could hold back. Horus was proclaimed the rightful ruler of Egypt, and the skies and earth rejoiced. Isis had been both shield and sword for her son, her love his sanctuary, her wisdom his guide. Yet there was one more secret that Isis would come to wield, a mystery that would further elevate her status among the deities. It was the secret of Ra's divine name. While the world celebrated Horus's victory, Isis's thoughts turned to another matter. She knew that the power of a god lay in their secret name, a name that held the essence of their very being. Ra, the sun god, the king of all gods, had within him a secret name that no other knew. It was said that whoever possessed this name would hold dominion over Ra himself. Isis, wanting to strengthen her magical prowess, devised a plan to learn this name. Observing Ra one night, Isis noticed drool hanging from his mouth. The only thing powerful enough to harm Ra was himself. So Isis crafted a serpent from the dust and the spittle of Ra, which she placed in his path. As Ra walked the earth, the serpent struck, injecting him with venom. In his excruciating pain, Ra summoned his children for aid, yet none could alleviate his suffering. He writhed under the pain, the poison coursing through his divine form. Isis approached the ailing Ra with a proposition. She would heal him, but only in exchange for his secret name. Ra, in his pride, offered her all other names he bore, but Isis refused. She knew that only the true name, the hidden name, held the cure. In his torment, Ra relented, whispering the name into her ear, and with that utterance, Isis's power swelled. She cured Ra, and in doing so she became a goddess of unparalleled magic and wisdom. With the power of the secret name, she fortified her son Horus's right to rule and bound the sun god to her will. With the hidden name of Ra, Isis's magic knew no bounds. She became the most powerful among the living and the dead, a guardian of the divine order and a master of fate itself. Her legend, now intertwined with the secret of Ra, would live on through the ages, a testament to her cunning and her unyielding devotion to her family and her people. The ascendancy of Horus was not just a restoration of balance and the affirmation of rightful rule. Under his reign, Egypt would flourish, the cycle of the Nile would continue, and the land would yield its bounty. And behind this success was Isis, the throne, the mother, the magician, and now the keeper of the hidden name of Ra. The worship of Isis, once confined to Egypt, spread across the Roman Empire and beyond, resonating with people through her human-like qualities as a mother, wife, and powerful magical being. Her followers celebrated her myths in temples and during festivals like the Isia, bringing her divine essence to life through processions and hymns. Over time, her imagery incorporated symbols such as the throne, wings, ankh, and sistrum, reflecting her status, protective nature, and magical prowess. Isis was venerated as the ideal Egyptian woman, embodying marital devotion and maternal care, and served as a role model for women. She was artistically represented in various forms, often with a throne or cow horns and a solar disk, and her name was associated with pharaonic power. Her magical abilities were legendary, and she was considered wiser than all gods, having even tricked Ra into revealing his secret name. In a way, Isis's mastery over words and her knowledge of the true names of things could be seen as an ancient precursor to what many today would recognize as the law of attraction. By speaking things into being and knowing the essence of all, she harnessed the power to manifest and transform reality according to her will. Every tale has its end, but the story of Isis defies finality, echoing through the corridors of time and reminding us that some legacies never fade. In our journey, we've witnessed the power of a goddess who shaped the very foundations of a civilization. We've seen her love, her magic, and her enduring spirit. From the banks of the Nile to the far reaches of the Roman Empire, Isis has been a symbol of protection, wisdom, and the eternal cycle of life and death. And while the story of Isis concludes here, the journey through the rich pantheon of mythology does not. There are more gods, more myths, and more magic to explore. So, let your curiosity be your guide. Subscribe and join me as we unveil the next chapter in the saga of the mysteries of mythology.